Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we explore a question that has caught the attention of security analysts, diplomats, and the public alike. Is China's mega embassy in London a threat to UK national security? The word mega is not hyperbole. This is not a typical diplomatic mission. It is a sprawling complex, one of the largest Chinese embassies in Europe, with facilities, surveillance capabilities, and infrastructure that raise important questions about influence, intelligence, and the balance of sovereignty. When we talk about embassies, we often think of them as mere administrative outposts, staffed by diplomats discussing trade, culture, and policy. But size matters, and scale often signals intent. A mission this large is more than a venue for visas and protocol. It has the potential to house operations that extend far beyond traditional diplomacy, including advanced monitoring, influence campaigns, and intelligence collection. The debate centers on the dual nature of modern diplomacy. It is both cooperative and strategic. Every country seeks to protect its citizens and interests, but some also seek to project power under the guise of normal diplomatic engagement. Critics argue that China's investment in such a massive embassy in the heart of London could provide opportunities for espionage, data collection, and influence over political and social networks. Surveillance, both digital and physical, is no longer confined to fiction or speculation. It is an accepted part of international intelligence strategy. On the other hand, supporters point out that embassies have always been symbols of national presence abroad, and the scale might reflect bureaucratic needs, security measures, and the representation of China's global standing. Yet the proximity of sensitive sites, the integration of modern technology, and the size of the complex inevitably generate concern for those responsible for protecting national security. This discussion forces us to confront larger questions about sovereignty in a globalized world. How much influence is acceptable from foreign powers within our borders? What safeguards are necessary to ensure that diplomacy does not cross into covert operations? As international relations grow increasingly complex, balancing engagement with caution becomes a delicate art. The mega embassy is not merely a building, it is a symbol of power, capability, and strategic ambition. Understanding its implications requires careful analysis, awareness of historical precedents, and vigilance regarding emerging technologies and methods of influence. Tonight, as we consider this issue, we must remain clear-eyed about the stakes. National security is not an abstract concept, and the presence of foreign power centers in major capitals carries both symbolic and practical significance. Whether this mega embassy represents a genuine threat or a diplomatic flourish, the conversation itself underscores the importance of transparency, oversight, and informed public debate in navigating the challenges of the 21st century. Size and scale signal. Strategic intent. The size and scale of China's mega embassy in London immediately draw attention because they are unprecedented in the context of traditional diplomatic missions. Unlike standard embassies, which are often compact and functional, this sprawling complex encompasses extensive facilities, secure zones, and infrastructure capable of supporting a wide array of operations. In international relations, scale is rarely arbitrary. A building of this magnitude conveys both a practical capacity and a strategic message. Beyond the obvious diplomatic functions, such as consular services, cultural promotion, and policy coordination, the embassy's footprint allows for activities that go far beyond what most host nations expect or can easily monitor. Modern embassies can incorporate secure communications networks, extensive technical equipment, and logistical capabilities that could facilitate intelligence gathering, digital surveillance, and influence operations targeting local institutions and networks. The concern is amplified when considering that London is not only a political capital but also a global financial hub. Access to economic, political, and technological information is of immense value to any state seeking to enhance its strategic positioning, and a facility of this size could theoretically provide multiple avenues for information collection and observation. Historical precedents underscore the importance of vigilance. Large diplomatic compounds have previously been used as hubs for intelligence activities, a practice that, while sometimes legal under diplomatic conventions, often tests the limits of what is considered acceptable host country oversight. In this context, the embassy's scale cannot be dismissed as mere bureaucratic or ceremonial excess. Each square meter, each additional facility, and each technological investment contributes to the potential reach of the mission. Observers argue that the combination of physical space and technological capability allows the embassy to operate on multiple fronts simultaneously, coordinating cultural and economic engagement while also having the capacity to monitor and influence events in ways that extend beyond traditional diplomacy. The sheer size of the complex also complicates regulatory oversight and security monitoring, creating a situation where host nations must carefully assess risk while maintaining diplomatic norms. In a world where influence, information, and strategic advantage are increasingly intertwined, the scale of such a diplomatic mission inevitably signals not only presence but capability, prompting serious consideration of both its practical and strategic implications for national security and foreign relations. Modern diplomacy has evolved far beyond the traditional notion of quiet negotiations and ceremonial functions. While embassies are formally intended to facilitate communication, trade, and cultural exchange, they increasingly serve dual roles that intertwine cooperative engagement with strategic maneuvering. This dual nature means that diplomatic missions, particularly those of major powers, can operate simultaneously as hubs for legitimate political work and as platforms for influence, intelligence collection, or strategic observation. In the case of China's mega embassy in London, the size and sophistication of the facility amplify these concerns. Large embassies provide the physical and technological capacity to conduct multiple functions at once, hosting official engagements, managing community and cultural programs, and maintaining secure communication networks for internal coordination. At the same time, such spaces can enable activities that, while sometimes subtle, serve national interests in ways that extend beyond standard diplomacy. For example, advanced communications infrastructure allows for rapid information gathering and dissemination, while large compounds can house personnel trained in intelligence, research, or outreach operations targeting political, economic, or social networks within the host country. The dual-use nature of diplomacy is not unique to China. All major powers have historically leveraged their embassies to monitor developments abroad, protect national interests, and project influence. What makes the current situation notable is the scale and visibility of the operation. In a city like London, which is not only a political capital but also an international center for finance, technology, and research, the embassy's capacity to engage across multiple sectors simultaneously raises questions about the extent and scope of its strategic reach. Diplomacy in the 21st century cannot be considered purely cooperative because influence and security are inseparable from engagement in globalized societies. Every diplomatic interaction, cultural event, or business meeting can carry implications for national interests, and embassies with extensive resources are particularly well-positioned to manage these interactions in ways that align with their home country's objectives. This dual role of modern diplomacy, cooperation intertwined with strategy, requires host nations to carefully monitor activities without undermining the principles of international relations, a balance that is increasingly difficult to maintain as missions grow larger, more technologically advanced, and capable of exerting influence across multiple sectors of society. The presence of China's mega embassy in London raises significant questions regarding national security, particularly because of its location, scale, and technological capabilities. National security concerns arise whenever a foreign power establishes a large, sophisticated facility in close proximity to sensitive political, economic, or technological sites. London, as a global hub of finance, intelligence, and policymaking, represents a high-value environment for any state seeking access to information, networks, or influence. An embassy of this magnitude can potentially serve multiple functions beyond traditional diplomacy, including surveillance, data gathering, and the coordination of personnel with specialized training in strategic operations. Modern intelligence strategies increasingly rely on both digital and human networks, and embassies provide legal cover under diplomatic conventions for activities that might otherwise be restricted within a host country. The size of the Chinese mission allows for the deployment of extensive technical infrastructure, secure communication lines, and multiple teams, which collectively enhance its capacity to monitor developments and gather information across diverse sectors, including political decision-making, economic flows, and social networks. These factors create real and perceived vulnerabilities, as host nations cannot fully control or inspect the operations within a diplomatic compound without breaching international law. Moreover, the visibility of a mega embassy naturally attracts scrutiny, prompting intelligence and security agencies to assess whether the facility is being leveraged to project influence or collect sensitive data. Historical examples illustrate that embassies, especially those of major powers, have sometimes functioned as centers for intelligence operations and the integration of modern technologies, ranging from secure networks to advanced surveillance equipment, further complicates the risk profile. National security is not limited to preventing overt attacks. It also encompasses protecting the integrity of information, maintaining operational confidentiality, and safeguarding decision-making processes. In this context, the sheer scale of the Chinese embassy in London amplifies concerns, as its capabilities could intersect with areas critical to the United Kingdom's political, economic, and technological interests. Assessing the embassy through the lens of national security requires a nuanced understanding of contemporary diplomatic norms, technological potential, and the ways in which large-scale foreign missions can simultaneously function as centers of cooperation and strategic influence. This duality highlights the importance of vigilance, oversight, and proactive measures to mitigate risk while maintaining the frameworks of international diplomacy that govern relations between sovereign nations. Balancing engagement with vigilance is one of the central challenges facing modern states when hosting foreign missions of significant size and capability. Diplomacy requires open channels of communication, mutual cooperation, and the facilitation of trade, cultural exchange, and political dialogue. However, when a foreign mission, particularly one as large and technologically sophisticated as China's mega embassy in London, has the potential to operate beyond traditional diplomatic functions, host nations must carefully navigate the delicate line between constructive engagement and national security protection. This balance requires a comprehensive understanding of both the legitimate functions of a diplomatic mission and the possible avenues for strategic influence or intelligence collection. Host countries must develop policies and oversight mechanisms that allow for collaboration while remaining alert to activities that could undermine sovereignty, compromise sensitive information, or exploit regulatory gaps inherent in international diplomatic law. The challenge is compounded by the fact that large, complex embassies can integrate multiple functions simultaneously, making it difficult to discern which activities are standard diplomatic operations and which might serve strategic objectives. Modern diplomacy also intersects with technological advancements, including digital communications, secure networks, and information systems, which can be leveraged for both routine administrative purposes and for gathering intelligence. Balancing engagement and vigilance, therefore, requires continuous monitoring, interagency coordination, and the development of strategic protocols to mitigate risk without breaching international norms or creating diplomatic tensions. It also requires a public understanding of the stakes involved, as transparency and oversight and informed discussion contribute to more effective governance and national security policy. The host nation must remain proactive, anticipating potential challenges and adapting policies to address new capabilities and methods employed by foreign missions. Historical and contemporary examples demonstrate that failure to maintain this balance can result in compromised political decision-making, exposure of sensitive economic or technological data, and unintended influence on domestic affairs. In the context of London, where the intersection of global finance, policymaking, and research is pronounced, a mega embassy with both diplomatic and strategic potential necessitates careful calibration. Ensuring that engagement does not give way to vulnerability requires a sophisticated approach that integrates intelligence assessment, regulatory frameworks, and strategic diplomacy. Vigilance is not merely defensive, it is a necessary complement to engagement, allowing host nations to foster cooperation while simultaneously protecting their political, economic, and technological interests in an increasingly interconnected and competitive global environment. Beyond its physical presence, China's mega embassy in London carries a powerful symbolic and strategic significance that extends far beyond traditional diplomatic functions. Buildings of this scale are not simply administrative centers. They convey a message about a nation's global influence, ambitions, and capacity to project power internationally. The embassy signals China's intent to maintain a strong, visible presence in one of the world's most politically, economically, and culturally significant capitals. Symbolism matters in international relations because perceptions shape both public opinion and policy making. A sprawling mission suggests confidence, capability, and long-term commitment, signaling to both domestic and foreign audiences that the state possesses resources, organizational capacity, and strategic reach. At the same time, the symbolic presence is intertwined with practical capabilities. A large embassy can accommodate numerous staff members across diverse functions, integrate advanced technological infrastructure, and maintain secure communications, all of which enhance its capacity to operate in multiple domains simultaneously. The combination of symbolic weight and functional capability makes the embassy not only a center for routine diplomatic activity, but also a platform for influence projection, networking, and coordination of initiatives that can affect local, national, and international spheres. This dual nature requires host nations to recognize that such missions operate on multiple levels, as legitimate representatives of a foreign state, as instruments of soft power and cultural diplomacy, and potentially as hubs for strategic intelligence or influence. Understanding the embassy in this light emphasizes the importance of transparency, oversight, and public awareness in managing the implications of foreign presence. It also highlights the need for informed discourse about national sovereignty, influence, and strategic priorities in the context of globalization. The embassy's symbolic and strategic significance thus underscores the intersection of perception and capability, demonstrating how large diplomatic missions can shape both the tangible and intangible dimensions of international relations. Policymakers, security officials, and citizens alike must consider these factors when evaluating the role of foreign missions in their countries, recognizing that the presence of a mega embassy is never merely decorative or ceremonial. Its scale, visibility, and integrated capabilities position it as both a statement of influence and a practical instrument of state power, making its impact multifaceted and consequential for national policy, security considerations, and public understanding of international engagement.